Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets, Monday, September the 18th, 2023. What are we going to talk about? Let's see. I think we have a few things that we can talk about today if y'all want to listen to it. How about we talk about the Saints? We got a lot of stuff going on today. Let's show you our topics. There they are. Spencer, what is going on today?
Hey, Jim. Yeah, I'm excited, man. Saints game day, Monday night doubleheader. I'll obviously be tuned in on the first leg of that Saints Panthers. So, yeah, interested to see what Derek Carr and company can cook up tonight. It'll be a tough test. I think way trends are going, defenses are set up for success tonight, but maybe the offenses will surprise us.
We already have some people that asking. Let's see. Hank is saying he wants 13 points from Jamal Williams. He needs him.
I like Jamal tonight. We're
going to get into that a little bit in our best bets, I believe. I don't know if this is for real or not. Probably not. Are we showing the game? Well, no. But you can find out where it is. It's on WDSU and it's on ESPN and ESPN2. Angie says she's getting ready for the game. I'm sure a lot of people are getting ready from the game. People coming home from work early. It's kind of a mini holiday when the Saints play on Monday Night Football, and enjoy it because this is the only Monday Night Football game of the year, barring the flex that's coming up later on. They could be flexing on Monday night later on, but I highly doubt it. Saints road opener tonight, and they're looking for their first 2-0 start since 2013. We're going to have a quick, and I mean quick, LSU and Tulane wrap up in a little bit. And then we will have our final picks for Saints Panthers, not just game picks. We'll also have our best bets, which for Spencer and I both include a player prop. You rarely get a player prop from me, but there is one I most certainly like tonight. We'll get to that in just a little bit. All right, let's talk about Saints Panthers, Spencer, and getting right into it. Some of these rankings are a little bit deceiving. Obviously, after 1 week, they're going to change drastically probably after 1 week. But of these rankings, is there something that you see that the Saints can exploit against the Panthers tonight? We're not going to give our predictions yet, but if the Saints are to win, looking for keys to the game, what is something the Saints can exploit?
I think rookie quarterback Bryce Young in the passing game. I mean, as we see there, had a rough start there, 26 passing offense, and I think that's something that's just the Saints can really take advantage of that because the Saints are strong up front and strong in the secondary. So Young's going to have his hands full. Panthers have their share of O-line issues, kind of like the Saints, except theirs are, you can make a case even worse because their O-line, they've got one of their guys on the right side, I believe, is on IR, and then their left tackle had a rough debut. So against the Falcons defense, that's still a work in progress. This Saints defense is established. Cam Jordan, Carl Granderson. I mean, I know they got some new faces up front, but I mean, with Cam there anchoring it, that's a dangerous unit in the secondary with Lattimore, Honey Badger, Marcus May. I think that Bryce Young's going to have a rough night, and so as a result of that, that's the thing that Saints are going to really be able to exploit, to where Miles Sanders might get a little something going on the ground, but if the Panthers can't throw it, then there's only so much he can do. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to carry the whole offense on his back.
And when they played the first time, the Saints lost obviously both games. The last game was completely meaningless unless you had the Saints over 7 wins and you lost out on that last Eddie Pinheiro field goal. But I'm not bitter or anything. I mean, I'm totally okay. But I've gotten over it. But that first game, when they played them, they still had McCaffrey. It was a completely different Panthers team, and they did run all over the Saints. So it'll be interesting to see, like Spencer says, how much does Miles Sanders get on the ground tonight with their banged up O-line? What does Bryce Young do? Because Bryce Young's going to have to pass for them to be successful to set up the run. Usually you run to set up the pass. I think the opposite for Carolina. I think they're going to need to run to set up the pass if they're able to get it to the receivers or not. And conversely, Spencer, what do the Saints have to watch out for tonight? What do they have to be careful? What do they have to avoid to be able to win this game tonight?
Yeah, they got to avoid the turnovers, obviously. I mean, because the Panthers defense, they got a pretty strong defense. So I think the key will be for Derek Carr to just take things in stride, take things as they come, and not force things. He did have those moments against the Titans, the near fumble and then the ugly interception. So he's got to be a little more crisp this weekend. As we saw, a lot of offenses were more crisp this week. There was a lot more points put up overall. It was nice for fantasy football players like myself. I was really happy to see these offenses clicking. But tonight, I don't know. I mean, these defenses are both legit. So I think this could be kind of an ugly game, as we'll see from my best bet. But Derek Carr, I feel like, he's just got to pick his spots. He's got weapons there, and Michael Thomas, Rashid, and Chris Olave, who tore up the Panthers last year, and is saying no J.C. Horn tonight. So I think that could be the tipping point, because without him, Panthers secondary definitely is vulnerable.
Oh, there's no question about that. And then one of the bets that I like is not one of my best bets, but I'll just go ahead and tell you. I mean, I do like Derek Carr over 230.5 yards. I think the Saints are going to I think they're going to struggle running the ball until Kamara can come back, because I do think Jamal Williams is a great fit for this team, but he's going to be a great fit just like he was with Detroit when DeAndre Swift was playing with him, and it was like, kind of two different kinds of backs, and you hit him with two different kinds of ways, and you're not sure what's coming. I think that's why Jamal Williams was successful with Detroit, and I think he will be successful with the Saints when Kamara comes back, but he's having trouble right now. Maybe Kendra Miller will be able to help him, but the Saints' left side of the offensive line, I've said this 1,000 times, said this morning in Datitude, if they can't block for Derek Carr, there's going to be a lot of problems. I still like Derek Carr's over 230.5 yards. And I think if there was a total number of sacks, and I think actually you can bet that, I'm going to need to go look, but I'm willing to bet that the combined sacks tonight is going to be over 8. I think both quarterbacks are going to get hit and hit hard tonight. So we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. Also in this line, Spencer, I thought it was interesting. I looked right before we came in the air. It is the big money, not enough to make it 3.5. It started at 3.5, I think, early last week. Didn't stay there long. Came down to Saints -3, and really was right at an even split at -3. It was -110 Saints, -110 Panthers, until a couple of hours ago. It has changed now. Some big money must have come in on the Saints, because it was, I think, on Caesars Sportsbook, by the way, which is the official odds partner of bet.noah.com. It's all the way to Saints, I think, -125. So, and I think it was even money plus 100, or it might even plus 105 to bet the Panthers at -3. So big money coming in on the Saints. If you're a Saints fan, that is a good sign, because usually that big money means sharps. Not always the people know what they're talking about, but usually the people that have the money are the ones that know what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah. And I think there could be some value on the Saints. I mean, I'm not making that a best bet because it's a division rivalry game. And so I tend to
on the road
stay away from those. Yeah, on the road. So there's all those golden rules and not put too much on that. But if I had to pick the spread, I'd go with the Saints, because I mean, the Saints just match up better here. I mean, you got the clear quarterback advantage. You got the clear defense advantage too, in my opinion, with the Panthers hurting a little bit there, especially without J.C. Horn, their top corner. So I feel like this is a game to where if it wasn't for the fact that it was a division rival, this would be about 6 points in favor of the Saints. But with the division rival on the road factor, it kind of makes it, you can't feel too confident.
We're going to give our official game picks. Both, we have our best bets, but we're going to both have, I'm going to force Spencer to make a pick on the game, which you can kind of hear which way he's leaning. And I will make a pick on the game as well in just a moment. We do want to review LSU Tulane very briefly. Again, we're going to finish the show with our best bets coming up and our final score predictions coming in just a minute. If you want to leave a prediction, or if you want to leave a comment or question, you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you're more than welcome to do that. Just leave it in the comments section, and we'll show it here on the screen. Anytime, we'll be on for about another 10 to 15 minutes on Bayou Bets this afternoon. All right, LSU, let's talk about it real quick. I thought it was an interesting week in the SEC. Florida, it shocked me what Florida was able to do to Tennessee. But as far as LSU, man, they showed that maybe they're getting their rust off and kind of doing what they did last year. Started off slow, getting things together. Maybe the best thing that could have happened to them was getting their butts whipped by Florida State, because they look like a different team. And Grambling, you can't even count that week. That's like a scrimmage almost. But to play Mississippi State like they did, I thought was telling. And you look at the stats here, they held Mississippi State to 201 total yards, just 94 yards on the ground, 107 passing yards. That defense was rolling on Saturday.
100%. Yeah, it just goes to show, and when you've got the talent LSU has, you can turn things around in a hurry. And with Alabama, all their quarterback turmoil, to me, LSU's back to being the favorite in the SEC West. Like, I mean, before the season, it was kind of splitting hairs between them and Bama. But then after the Florida State game, like, oh, well, I guess it'd be Nick Saban again. But they've just, as you were saying, Jim, I mean, they've got a lot of trouble over there. And Saban this might end up his last year if things go awry. And so could have like Ole Miss. Ole Miss can be kind of sneaky a lot of times, though they don't seem to live up to it. So
looking forward to that game this week. I hate both of those teams. Somebody's got to lose, and I love it. One of those teams is going to lose. Whoever loses, good for you. Glad you lost. Have a good weekend. Move on. I thought Jaden Daniels was outstanding, Spencer, and he was kind of unnecessarily catching grief after the Florida State game because he did all he could possibly do. Wasn't getting protected, but I thought he was outstanding, and he showed it. I think he was something like 30 of 34 or something along those lines. 367 yards. He couldn't have really done any better. He'll have to be good again against Arkansas. I find it interesting that LSU is going all the way to an 18-point favorite because I think Arkansas, Mississippi State are kind of what and what, and LSU was only a 9.5-point favorite over Mississippi State, even though that was on the road. 18 points is a whole lot of points.
Yeah, that's too many points for me to feel comfortable taking LSU to cover. I think they win by multiple touchdowns, but I mean, if it was like 14, I'd probably be like, all right, but 18, that's too much because KJ Jefferson's a solid quarterback. I know Arkansas had a rough one against BYU this past week, but I mean, their offense was still solid. They scored 31 points, so I don't think it's going to be anything like last year where Jefferson didn't play and it ended up a defensive struggle. Harold Perkins had his big coming out party with the 3 sacks. So I think he'll do well. Again, the LSU defense is legit, but I don't think they'll be able to shut Arkansas down quite like they did Mississippi State. But I don't see Arkansas being able to slow down LSU's offense because I know Jaden, shout out to Jaden, of course, he does this thing, but Malik Neighbors is so freaking talented from Lafayette, Louisiana, man. Yeah. Covered him in high school, and it's so cool to see him grow. And I think he's going to end up a first-round NFL draft pick at the rate he's going. I mean, led the whole country in receiving yards against Mississippi State, and just keeps getting better. That's what I love to see with him. He just keeps getting better week after week, and so I think he's going to make life rough on the Razorbacks Saturday.
Well, it's always cool. When you wear LSU in your helmet and you're a receiver these days, it's kind of like when you were a defensive back before. Now it's the receivers. If you're a receiver at LSU and you do real well, you're going to have an excellent chance to be a first-round draft pick. And I agree with you. I think Malik Neighbors, especially the way he started, he's going to have an excellent chance to be up there in the top draft pick coming up. Again, one more time, when we finish, we're going to talk about Tulane in just a second. When we finish with Tulane, like 3-4 minutes at tops. And then we're going to finish the show with our best bets and give you a Saints prediction. That's coming up in about 3-4 minutes. I do want to talk about Tulane a little bit. Kai Horton, I thought, played well, but the defense was outstanding. They limited Southern Miss to 25 yards rushing, which is insane. They get a breather this week. Pratt won't play this week either. Kai Horton's going to get another start. There's no reason to use Michael Pratt against Nichols, who's 0-2. There's no line. I looked all over. In fact, I looked at several books, not just our partner at Caesar Sportsbook. I looked all over the place. I couldn't find one. There probably will be one later in the week, but you got to think Tulane's going to be about a 40-point favorite, somewhere along those lines. I mean, that's something we would probably touch, but you got to like the way the Wave defense played. And Lawrence Keys, you talk about receivers you covered. Lawrence Keys, I covered at McDonough 35. And what a transfer, a big transfer from Notre Dame. Huge help to the Wave. He is becoming a stud. I'm not saying he's going to be a first-round draft pick, but he's definitely NFL worthy.
Right. Yeah, really nice to see what Tulane's cooking up there. I mean, their defense, Frank Gore Jr. is a really good running back for Southern Miss. Had the freaking huge bowl game last year, thinking he might be a draft prospect this coming year. But, yeah, he just got completely shut down. So, yeah, Tulane's defense super legit up front, which we knew that. That's why I still picked Tulane to win, even though I was a little iffy on the spread. I still was like, well, their defense is good enough, even if Kai Horton's not really clicking. But, yeah, it should have an easy one this week at home against Nichols. And then UAB the week after that, who UL, my Raging Cajuns, shout out to them, even though his starting QB Ben Woolridge went down. Zion Chris stepped up and did really well and got the Cajuns a big win over UAB. So I would think Tulane could handle that as well. And then it'll be the AAC slate. So yeah, Wave looking strong. I mean, this team, I was a little skeptical about them heading into this year, coming off the high of the New Year's Six Bowl, but I think they could very well do it again. They just looked the part.
I honestly think the Wave's going to run the table. I kind of said this before. I thought they had a chance to go undefeated. Ole Miss to me was the only team I thought they were going to that they could lose to. I thought they would beat everyone else. I still feel that way. I think they're going to run the table, and I think they'll have an excellent chance to be in a New Year's Six Bowl again. We'll see. It depends on the severity of Michael Pratt injury to him. He's supposed to come back after the Nichols game. We'll see. But if he's out for too long, it could be an issue. But I think Tulane's going to be just fine. I love the way they're playing defense right now. More on Tulane coming up, but obviously, big story of the day is the New Orleans Saints. We're going to make our best bets. Before we get into our bets that you see down here that we're going to talk about in just a moment, what's your pick for Browns Steelers? Do you have anything you like?
Not super big on this game. I kind of like the Steelers, though, if I had to pick it. I think Steelers money line could be a decent play. I think the Browns come back to earth this week. Deshaun Watson didn't really look that great in week one. It was more their defense and running game. So Nick Chubb, I still think he'll do good, but Steelers, I think, bounce back. Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris, they're okay on offense. And then TJ Watt on defense, I think, is going to make life rough on Watson and the Browns passing game, who might be without Amari Cooper tonight. He's highly questionable and trending toward not playing. So that's a big loss to me for Cleveland. And I just think Pittsburgh they're just more disciplined with Mike Tomlin and stuff, and they're just a more cohesive unit that I just feel like the Browns are going to be. They're riding the high from that Bengals win, and I think they're going to come back to earth tonight.
I was all over Pittsburgh for most of the week. This is not one I'm going to play, and I'll tell you why, because it seems like everyone is on Pittsburgh. And I like Aunt Mabel, the Sharps, everybody. I don't know that I've seen anyone pick Cleveland in this game. So that's normally a time that I would go run into the Browns. So you know what? I'm just going to make it a no bet. I don't like Cleveland in this game. I don't like the matchups. I kind of agree with everything you just said, except I don't agree about Deshaun Watson. I think he was fine. I think he's going to be fine. But I don't like that they don't have Amari Cooper either. And what are you going to do? Run Nick Chubb into the ground? I think that's going to be an ugly game. That's one where if I had to make a play, I'd probably bet the under on that too. Speaking of unders, let's talk about, we both like the under tonight in this game. I think both defenses have an advantage in this game. I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw last week. It would not surprise me at all if we only saw like 1 or 2 touchdowns all night long in Saints-Panthers. But give me your reasoning for liking the under.
Right, yeah, I just feel like the defensive fronts are going to overmatch the offensive lines, especially the Saints with the Panthers, to where I don't have it on here, but if Bryce Young to throw an interception, I feel like it's a good bet too, because it's not that juiced. I think it's only like minus 105 for the over 0.5 interceptions. I mean, that's a really good value considering the Saints have a lot of DBs that are ball hawks.
They only had 3 last year. I know they had 3 last week. They only had 3 last year, so I think that's kind of why you're getting that number. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I disagree with your pick. I'm just saying that's why the number is what it is, because I don't think there's a lot of faith in the Saints can duplicate or replicate what they did last week. Again, which one's the real Saints? The Saints defensive backfield from last year, or the Saints defensive backfield we saw last week? Maybe it's somewhere in between, or maybe it is last week. So I'm not sure, but that's a scary proposition. But yeah, I don't know that it's a terrible bet if throw a few bucks on it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I just feel like that he's going to be under duress all night. I don't think he's going to throw like 2 or 3. I don't think he'll just be, because he's pretty smart especially for a rookie. I mean, he's a pretty cerebral quarterback. So I don't see him making a whole lot of dumb decisions. But I just think toward the end, it's going to be one of those things where he's going to force a pass or 2 at the end, because I think the Saints will be able to control the clock for a good amount of this game, which is why I like Jamal Williams over on rushing yards, even though it's up at 57.5. I just feel like even if Kendre Miller's back, he's going to just be used sparingly coming off the hamstring. So I feel like Jamal's going to tote the rock a bunch and be much more efficient, considering that Tennessee's run defense really good. Shut down the Chargers this week. Yeah, exactly. Best in the league last year, looking like that again this year. So Panthers, not so much. They got absolutely burned on the ground last week by Atlanta. Not saying Jamal Williams is Bijan Robinson, but he's a solid back, and so I think he's going to see enough work and be able to break a couple fairly long runs to hit the over on that.
I also think he's like plus 140 or so to score a touchdown. That might not be a bad bet either. But he was minus 142, I think, when you sent me the over 57.5, went down to minus 123. So a lot of people betting the under. I like that. I like over 57.5. I think there's a good chance that he does that, because I was saying with Fletcher Mackel earlier on Datitude, I think Jamal Williams is going to get the ball 22, 24 times tonight, because I think the Saints want to show that they can run the ball. I think there's going to be a lot of runs to the right side too, trying to stay away from Trevor Penning, trying to get the Panthers to figure out what they're going to do. Hank wants to know if you think he'll get 13 fantasy points tonight.
I think so. I think he finds the end zone. I think he gets.
I'm playing against him, so no offense, Hank, but I hope he does not. I have Nick Chubb, and I'm playing against Jamal Williams, and I'm playing against someone else tonight. I forget who it is. Anyway, I'm playing against two Saints. I can't remember. Michael Thomas. That's who I'm playing against. Michael Thomas and Jamal Williams. And I'm up by 1, and I have Nick Chubb. It'll be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. All right. We both like the under. We told you why. I'm with Spencer on that. I think, again, and I told you earlier, I think both defensive units have an advantage. I do like, I agree with Spencer's best bet. I love Rashid Shaheed's over 39.5 yards, especially only at minus 117. I'll tell you why, because I think Shaheed is becoming, I know people are going to cringe or say you're crazy, Derry, when I say this, but I think Rashid Shaheed's going to be the number 2 receiver for this team. I don't think Michael Thomas needs to be the number 2 receiver on this team. I think there'll be times when he plays big roles, and there's times when he might not do all that much. I think tonight's a Rashid Shaheed kind of game. I wouldn't be surprised, Spencer, if he has one long catch, too, that gets him over the 39.5 with one catch, because we've seen that he has the breakaway speed, and Derek Carr is going to want to exploit that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's got the ability there with being the best vertical threat. Or Olave is still a vertical threat, but he's more just all over the field. And his prop is up, I think, like 70 or something, where it's not much of a value. Where Shaheed, he's still a value there at 39.5. He's a little big play dependent, though, which, I mean, it's hard to find any safe bets with props. But I just feel like the Jamal Williams is a little safer bet, considering we know he's going to get the attempts. But Shaheed, all he needs is just a couple big ones, and he's well over that.
And that's kind of tied into me liking Derek Carr over the 230.5. If he's going to get over that, I think he's going to need a big play from Rashid Shaheed. All right, final prediction time as we get in the game. I know a lot of you just getting home from work. You want to eat some dinner, so we're going to cut this show short today. Spencer, give me your final score prediction tonight.
All right, I think it kind of starts off ugly, probably a pretty rough first half there. But I think these offenses get in a little bit of rhythm in the second half. I think they'll figure some things out. And I think the Saints can find the end zone twice this week. Panthers, though, don't see them getting in very often. I think Bryce Young could move the ball a little bit here and there, but not enough for them to get many points. So I think they'll compete, though. This won't be an easy one, being a division matchup on the road. But I think Derek Carr is going to lead enough successful drives, find the end zone twice. Saints 20, Panthers 16.
Okay. Spencer's got the Saints covering at Saints 20.
Yes.
Panthers 16. He's also got the under. I already told you I like the under. I'm not going to change my pick. If any of you read my NFL picks column or heard me this morning on Datitude, I don't feel any differently than I felt last Wednesday. I want to. I hope I'm wrong. But I just don't think this is a good matchup for the Saints. I really don't. They haven't fared well in Charlotte the last couple of years. They haven't fared well against the Panthers, honestly, at all as of late. And I just don't like the matchup. Brian Burns against Trevor Penning scares the bejesus out of me. I hope they find a way to go over there and chip block Burns or something. But he had a sack and a half last week. I think there's a good chance he has 2 sacks tonight. I just don't like it, and I think that's going to cause problems. I think Derek Carr is going to get hit. Again, I think both quarterbacks are going to get hit. One of my best bets is if they have that, if you can bet over a combined total of sacks, I love that. Whatever it is, buy that. But I'm going to say Saints. I'm going to say Panthers 18, Saints 17 in an ugly game that finishes that finishes in brutal fashion.
Downer. Oh no,
I'm just calling it the way I see it.
To us.
Gotta do it, man. That's the way that I see it. I'm not going to tell you something I don't think, and that's what I think. So hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I have a pleasant Derry's Dime tomorrow morning on Datitude, and I can say, yay, I was wrong. But until it happens, we'll see. Any final thoughts, Spencer? Go ahead. Tell me how wrong I am.
Yeah, man, I took a little jab at you in the newsletter this morning. I was like, yeah, let's hope Derry Downer's wrong. I guess they call him that for a reason. But
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I just feel like, though, that Jeff Duncan wrote his column on it about how the Saints have had a lot of success when facing rookie QBs recently. I know they had to slip up against Kenny Pickett last year and Jalen Hurts a few years ago. But outside of those, the Saints have been pretty solid when facing those rookie QBs, even though Cam Jordan himself was saying like that he wasn't big on facing rookie QBs. He'd rather face people he's familiar with. I guess he's really referring to Matt Ryan, considering how much he owned Matt Ryan there all those years. But I think the Saints are in a good spot tonight because Bryce Young, I don't think, is going to have the opportunities to succeed. I'm not saying he's terrible, but he's a rookie. He's a work in progress, has no receivers that are reliable. As I've mentioned last week, his receiving core is just hot garbage, even though the LSU alum DJ Chark's going to be back. So not worried about that. And even
the other LSU
they
alum,
get open, he's going to, Terrace Marshall. Even if those guys get open, though, he's going to have no time to throw because their offensive line stinks. So the Saints defensive line will clean up. Secondary will do their thing. So I think this will be another one where the defense bails them out, even if Derek Carr and company start off slow. But I think they'll be able to establish it with Jamal Williams. So I think the Saints will be able to lead most of the way. But turnovers, though, cannot turn the ball over. You lose a turnover battle, you're going to lose the game.
Loser of this turnover battle is I would be shocked if the loser of this turnover battle doesn't lose the game. Like floored, actually, would be the way to say it. I mean, you have to get the turnovers in this game. And, you know, I'll tell you what, if Spencer's right and I'm wrong tomorrow in Datitude and Derry's done, the first thing I'm going to do is give you props. I just don't see it. We'll find out. Won't be long now. As we sit here, it is less than 2 hours to game time. We hope you get your dinner in, get yourself a frothy beverage of some sort, whatever you want. Make it fun, you know? And that way, if I'm right, then you don't have to worry about it. You can just go to bed early and sleep it off. We will see you on Thursday. Bayou Bets. Again, reminder, tomorrow morning, Datitude. It will not be live, but it will be wherever you find your podcast. Search for Datitude, and we'll talk to you in the morning. Actually, it will be Thomas on Thursday, and we will give you, all four of us, including Gabe Henderson, will give you our big Bucks picks. That ought to be fun. We'll review what we did last week. It wasn't too bad. I think we did okay. We'll see how it goes.
I had a tough week, but if this under hits, I'll be all right.
I wasn't going to throw you under the bus.
Under to hit. Because other than that, I had a pretty rough one, but it's all good. Defending champ's going to bounce back.
I'll throw you under the bus on Thursday, so prepare yourself. You can wear the flak jacket. We'll talk about it then.
Hey, everyone, if under hits, they won't be bad. But that was my best bet.
Absolutely. All right, well, I'm going to go get ready to park myself in front of the TV. Everyone enjoy themselves. Enjoy the game. We'll see you Thursday. Peace and love, my friends.